Welcome back to Kevin Toll Reads. I hope you're doing well. I am here with a book review, a Western book review from Jack Martin, aka Gary Martin Dobbs. And Gary has a YouTube channel, The Tainted Tavern. If you haven't checked that out, you definitely should. Before we get started in the review, I wanted to give you some author insights. A couple of the questions I asked all the indie authors this month, I wanted to give you some insights from Gary. One of the questions was, what's one thing you wish you had known before you self-published? And Gary stated, I think that regarding ebooks, then self-publishing is the way forward. But of course, you've got to get the hang of pushing your books, which is why reviewers such as yourself are so important. Long may you continue. I think ebooks and not only Amazon's Kindle are going to be the future of genre fiction. I also asked, what part of the writing process do you enjoy the most and what part do you dread? The only part, Gary says, that he fears is the blank page before you start. But once you get over that first hurdle, the story starts to flow and you get into a rhythm. Writers tend to live the story they are working on, and subconsciously the story is working itself out as I sleep, eat, and consume copious amounts of whiskey. Finally, I asked, how do you balance writing new books and promoting the ones you've already published? And Gary believes it's a juggling act. I write each and every day, but I also try to get some promotion in at every opportunity. That's the reality for writers these days, both self-pubbers and traditional publishers. You've got to put yourself out there and come up with ever more creative ways to say, buy my bloody book. And so let's get started with the review. Riding the Vengeance Trail, published in 2019, maybe 2016. I had some conflicting dates there, but it's in the late teens in 2000. Again, it's under Jack Martin, which is the pen name for Gary Martin Dobbs. It is a Black Horse Western series, which I really like, these pulpish kind of Westerns. And so let's dive right in and talk about the summary of this book. So the summary of the story, we're in Arizona, a place near Sand Creek, Cache City, Culver's Crossing, Tombstone area. And there's a man named Fury, and he is on a rip-roaring warpath. Fury seems hell-bent on killing some specific men. There's 5 in total. The question, though, is why? Why is he on this warpath, and will he succeed, or will the law or bounty hunters take him down? A man by the name of Dan Marlowe, a large rancher who helped establish one of the local towns, works with the local sheriff he also put into office by the name of Dan Hoskins, and they hire an infamous bounty hunter by the name of Tabor. Tabor's job is to stop Fury before he gets to Marlowe's ranch. Mr. Marlowe has been fortifying his ranch and has people working round the clock, keeping an eye on all parts as he continues to keep his daughter and himself under wraps in his home. All while this is going on, Fury is starting to pick off these specific men and hunting them down. He comes across a young boy and a girl, and they definitely aid Fury in his vengeance. The question becomes why, and you find that out in the story, and then the question becomes, will he make it? Will he react his revenge on all of these people, especially when you find out the reason Fury is after them? And so that's the summary of this. Let's talk a little bit about what I enjoyed. Fury in his plight is very believable. You understand, you kind of connect, and you empathize with what he's trying to do. I think that Gary really set this story up great. You are jumped right into the action from the immediate paragraph, and you're kind of trying to understand what's going on and then why. And eventually in the story, about the halfway point, you kind of figure out the why. And once you figure it out, it's not something that detracts from the story. It only solidifies that you want to see what is going to happen. Fury is moved and motivated only by his vengeance, but upon a couple of characters that he comes across in his trials, you really see that he is more than just a one-sided individual. You are thrown into a story and you get the backstory, which is just really well done. There is an excerpt that I thought was interesting, and it's actually something that's in the very beginning of the book. There's a quote that Gary put in this edition, and it says at the beginning of the book, "Revenge, the sweetest morsel to the mouth that ever was cooked in hell." And that was by Sir Walter Scott. I thought that was really fitting. There's a couple fun facts I wanted to share in this story. Jack references, or Gary references, two terms that I didn't know what they were: a Quarley and a Lucifer. And so I actually looked them up. A Quarley is slang for a hand-rolled cigarette, and a Lucifer, that is in reference to a match that you can strike pretty much anywhere. It was actually the first ever mass-produced matches that could be struck anywhere. They were invented by John Walker in 1827, and they were initially called friction lights, but the term Lucifers took. So I thought that was interesting. In terms of criticism, I have one criticism for this story. The ending can seem a tad anticlimactic, but I will say this. Gary sets the story up to where when you get the ending, the climax of the ending, you kind of understand why it plays out the way that it does, especially if you understand some of the things that Dan Marlowe said about Fury and his why. And I'm just going to leave it at that. In terms of rating and overall, I give it a 4.2. It is a great, fast-paced, fun. It's contrived very well as you're trying to figure out the why, and then you're figuring out, is he going to succeed type thing. And it just pulls you in, and you just stay in that little world with Fury, sharing his vengeance and anger towards these men, and then his compassion and such for characters like Bina and Rake. I thought that was really interesting. The retrospect, when I think about the ending and maybe considering it a downer, I really liked, though, how Gary kind of set that up in a way. And if you read through some of the passages, especially from Marlowe, you understand the why of how it ends. People like Austin J. Graz, Stephen Everts, Bing, Richard Adcock, Don, Luigi, I think all of my normal people that comment and on videos, I think this is a Western that I think you guys might enjoy as well. And then finally, I wanted to share this with you. When I asked Gary, what kind of readers do you think will connect most with your work, and what do you hope they take away from it? Gary stated, "I just hope readers enjoy my work and get a sense of the passion I have for the subject or genre I'm dealing with. And I just want to entertain, and and if I do motivate a reader to explore a genre more fully, then that's great. I have a love for the Western genre, and I hope that shows through in my work. I also," and Gary says this, "I also have a sense of humor in my work because that comes naturally to me. I've done stand-up comedy in the past, and deep down, I am a frustrated comedian." And so that is my take for Riding the Vengeance Trail by Jack Martin, aka Gary Martin Dobbs. Another great entry into Indie Author August. And I hope you all have a great day. Happy Friday. I'll talk to you later.